Welcome in, everybody. It is the Fantasy Pros recap for Week 3. I'm your host, Scott Bogman. I'm joined by Tera Roberts and Deepak Chona to break it all down for you guys. And Week 3 is in the books. Deepak, you're going to be here for an extended period of time. We got a lot to talk about. Tera, what was your immediate thoughts on Week 3? Was it the injuries?
No, it was, and the injuries were painful, but the bounce backs of some of those big name players who had been flailing, that was my positive takeaway. Looking at the good bounce backs for AJ Brown and Nico Collins, and we'll just, we'll make this injury stuff work.
Thank you for bringing positivity, Tera. We appreciate that. Deepak, you're here to bring us down, man. Hopefully it's not too bad for all of these guys. I haven't seen exactly what you said about it quite yet, but I mean, it was a brutal week. It's Sunday, Bloody Sunday. It's the first ugly one of the year, I feel like.
Yeah, it all started the second half of the games, and it just didn't stop. So we'll get through it.
Yeah, we will get through it. So let's dive into it then. CeeDee Lamb, let's start there. The ankle injury. We had James Conner leave with an ankle as well. T-Mac with a quad. Evans with a hammy. Juwan Jennings didn't play with a shoulder. A lot more on the back end too. So let's just start at CeeDee. And that's our highest pick on this list. Tell me he's going to be okay, please.
Yeah, so there is a silver lining here in that he did try to return. And the video, if you watch it, his foot didn't get caught in the ground as the ankle was being bent. So all of that together suggests on the lower side, milder type severity. The average for a wide receiver still takes about 2 weeks, and most players would miss at least one. Now, you saw on a route, he was trying to basically cut, and rotation is where you really feel this as a wide receiver. So that high ankle is super important in stabilizing when you're making those cuts on routes, and that's where I think you'll see the limitation in the first couple weeks back as well.
How long do we think?
Average would be about 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. In the meantime, Tera, first of all, thank you. Thank you, Deepak, for giving us positive news here. But in the meantime, is it, Ferguson had a big day. Is it Ferguson? Yeah. Do you like Turpin? What are your thoughts in Dallas?
Yeah, I do waiver wire stuff, and I was looking for a justification for adding one of these guys on waivers for Dallas. I don't know that we have it there truly because none of them really stood out. You can take a stab at one. Turpin is obviously the shifty high upside one there that it could be, but ultimately I think it just makes us lean in more aggressively to the guys that we already have. You feel super secure in George Pickens, and Jake Ferguson now is shooting all the way up to a weekly solid as long as CeeDee Lamb is out, top 5.
All right, let's go to James Conner with this ankle injury. He was carted off. The prayer circle was around him. Is there any positive news here? Because that one looked pretty nasty.
Yeah, we haven't gotten an official word here, but it doesn't look overly optimistic. The foot was planted, the knee twisted, and then the ankle twisted as well. There's a high risk of fracture when you have that type of severe energy to it. So we'll just have to see. But I'm not expecting James Conner back soon.
Yeah, Tera, this looks like it's just wheels up for Benson, right?
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's not one of those things that we can go to waivers and add there. We did see Amari DiMercado step out there and get a couple of targets. He failed and made a drop, so I don't think that's going to be a threat in any way, shape, or form. Trade Benson to the moon here. Upcoming schedule is tough, but still workable. He's looked solid. He had a good day. Yards per carry hasn't been an issue, and maybe we can get these touchdowns going for him too.
Fingers crossed. Let's go. How about Mike Evans with the hammy, Terry McLaurin with the quad? Do we have good news on these guys, Deepak?
Yeah, so Terry McLaurin, it's hard to read into the severity of his injury. They were already up, and it was towards the end of the game when he came out. There wasn't any obvious mechanism that we could tell, at least from the initial review of the game tape. So with all that in mind, the average quad is a spectrum based on severity. So again, we just have to watch his return to practice. Some optimism that he may be able to come back even this week. With Mike Evans, a little less optimism. Now, he's age 32. He has a hamstring and soft tissue history that's pretty extensive. And so you also watch his reaction. He threw his helmet. He was limping. It points to a higher severity type injury. Wouldn't be surprised if Evans ends up on the IR. The all-comers average for hamstrings is about 2 to 3 weeks, but being over age 30, having the history, And then, of course, the reaction all suggests he's going to be on the higher side of that. So not as much optimism on him, but cautious optimism on McLaurin.
And Tara, what are your go-tos with Terry McLaurin and Mike Evans here?
The main one, Terry McLaurin, that situation and turning to anyone else is very dependent on Jaden Daniels returning next week. But Tampa Bay is definitely different there because Baker Mayfield he's a dog. He's amazing. And he just makes multiple wide receivers relevant there. And we know for a fact that Sterling Shepard would in fact be the next man up there. Now we've got the caveat of whether or not Chris Godwin comes back. He was expected in October, so maybe they don't push it because they have depth there at receiver. Sterling Shepard is a guy we can go to waivers. He's seen solid targets even as the third option thus far this season. We know his history there with the Giants there and the upside that he offers. So I feel good about putting in a claim and using Sterling Shepard as a potential low-end flex spot start if we need it this week.
Oh man, we got a lot to burn through here as well on top. So Najee, possible Achilles here. Deepak, Danny Brown with a shoulder. Jennings didn't play with a shoulder. There's other injuries. Any more of note besides those three?
Yeah. So, I mean, just to touch on those very quickly, Jennings, he was doubtful he was ruled out towards the end, but listed as questionable prior. So it suggests maybe there's some optimism he comes back next week. Danny Brown, he did get kind of piled into that shoulder and then was pulled out. So most AC sprains, if that's what he ends up having, would allow return within 1 to 2 weeks. So pretty quick. The other injuries kind of to note on the radar, Chris Godwin and Tristan Wirfs both potentially returning this coming week for the Bucs. One note on Chris Godwin, with that ankle history, you would very likely see a slow ramp up, usually 4 to 6 weeks. So wouldn't be banking on him taking huge targets away from other Bucs immediately. And then kind of looking at Brock Purdy as well. He was trending towards maybe return this week, but the data was pretty heavily against it. But playing next week looks like a very realistic target.
What was Najee? Did you see any of that yet?
Najee was very likely an Achilles, as you said, so probably out.
Ugh, Tara, I mean, did I miss any here? I feel like I might have missed a couple. And any immediate reactions to these injuries?
Yeah, it's interesting. We got quite a few low-level ones that maybe don't affect anyone that we're starting, but maybe up those fantasy points for someone else. And then you talk about Amari and Hampton there, the injury to Najee. We have been in kind of this no man's land with Amari and Hampton, especially after the final drive. It's interesting because early in this game, it looked like if there was an pretty even snap count between the two, if maybe not tilted a little bit towards Najee. But after the injury, Hampton taking over is the clear lead back there. The volume that he got, very successful with it, and really the uptick in pass volume as well. It's a dramatic change for us and the level of trust that we can have moving forward with him. So he's going to shoot up in these rankings and have a much higher trust level when we were splitting the backfield there.
All right, Deepak, mainly good news you gave us, so we'll let you leave on that. Follow Deepak at SportsMD Analysis. That's the same everywhere?
That's on Twitter, and if you search either my name or SportsMed Analytics on the other platforms, you'll find us, and then here every week.
Thank you so much for joining us and giving us some good news on some of these injuries. CeeDee Lamb, 2 weeks. Fingers crossed. Let's go. We will be right back, Tara and I, to break down the games right after this.
Yeah, we're all passionate about fantasy football, obviously. But sometimes there is a little bit missing. What's missing? A team. But not your fantasy team. No, a team of like-minded, passionate fantasy football fans. And if that is not part of your everyday, Fantasy Pros Discord might be your answer. Chat with other fans, debate strategies, and find leagues to join. Every week, get your questions answered live in our AMA live Discord sessions. Want to know if you should start that sleeper or avoid a risky trade? Our experts, they're here to help. And if you got a question, you might even end up on a podcast. It's not just about advice, though. It's about community, with channels for every aspect of fantasy football, draft advice, waivers, props, to dynasty, best ball, and a ton more. You're going to find like-minded fans just like you. So join the best fantasy team. Join Fantasy Pros on Discord at fantasypros.com/chat today. Get your questions answered and connect with fans. Don't just play fantasy football, live it with Fantasy Pros on Discord.
Walsh is always here in our hearts to help us in this show. And look, we had we had a big someone cheered 5,000 bits here. Sparrow, thank you so much, Sparrow. Appreciate that. That was awesome. And thank you, everyone, for joining us here. We appreciate you guys. And to show our appreciation, this week we partnered with Pristine Auction to give away a DJ Moore signed Bears mini helmet. Whether you're a Bears fan or you just love collecting signed NFL gear, this is a must-have addition to your shelf. To enter, you just leave a comment on any of our Twitch streams this week at twitch.tv/fantasypros. And as always, Twitch subscribers get 1.5 times odds boost at winning. Just as a thank you for your support, we'll announce the winners on Tuesday, September 30th. All right, Tara. Let's get into it here. Atlanta Falcons, 0 points. Carolina Panthers, 30. Raise your hand if you had the Carolina Panthers defense starting anywhere, and put it down because we don't believe a single person out there in this game. We did see Bryce Young throw for 121 yards, but he ran in a touchdown. Penix got benched. Kirk Cousins came in, 172 yards, 2 picks. Hubbard was okay. Didn't score. Dowdle vultured him. Bijan didn't score, but he had over 100 all-purpose yards. We saw McMillan, 3 for 48. London, 5 for 55. A lopsided game. Didn't have a lot of fantasy greatness here, but the big thing was Penix getting benched. What are your thoughts on this Falcons-Panthers game?
Yeah, this was a disaster. I will say that maybe the benching was just maybe they're trying to throw Kirk Cousins out there for the trade value, since they are seeking this unreasonably hefty offering that no one is going to buy. But maybe if they stick him out there and he looks good, they can convince somebody. I don't think it's working. This was a bad situation. I will defend the Falcons a little bit, because scoring 0 points, there's no defense for that. But defending Penix and Drake London just like a tiny bit there. At this point, we have to accept that Carolina might just be a straight up no-go through the air. We saw last week with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. Week 1, I think they were very strong as well. At this point, their secondary is just their strength. Everything else is kind of a bit of a hodgepodge disaster in development there, right? They're trying, but the secondary is what has been solid for them year after year, game after game here. So unfortunately, I do believe when your wide receiver 1 is facing that Panther secondary and JC Horn, you might want to mail it in and have some lowered expectations there. Good news is that Drake London still has, he's the target leader. Volume is there. It's not tilting other direction. We just need this Atlanta offense to feel something. Penix looks like he's just a little bit lost out there right now.
Yeah, young man. No need to panic quite yet. But yeah, I'm with you. Like Carolina, this is a perfect game plan for Carolina. What they want to do after having that historically bad rush defense is to score points, get up on you, and make you pass into that secondary that they spent a lot of money on. So just not a good game for the Falcons in this one. How about my Pittsburgh Steelers with a 21-14 win, even though they were +4 in the turnover margin? It was a win, so I'll take it. Aaron Rodgers, my new guy, 139 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick here. Drake May, 268, 2 touchdowns, 7 rushes for 45. He did lose a fumble and throw a pick. Jaylen Warren looked pretty good here, 18 for 47, 5 catches for 34, although he got vultured by Gainwell on that touchdown. Because of all the fumbles, Stevenson had 2, Gibson had 1, May had 1. Henderson was your lead back, 11 for 28, 3 for 19. So not a lot of yards, but a lot of snaps here. He led them with 32 of 74. Stevenson, 27, Gibson, 19. DK caught a touchdown, didn't do a lot outside of that. So did Calvin Austin. Hunter Henry with 2 scores. He was awesome. Jonnu and Freiermuth continue to split here. So Tara, when you look at the Steelers and the Patriots here, I guess my big question here is, are we getting the big week from Henderson? And what's going on with Stephon Diggs?
So starting off with the running backs, I don't know if I still trust it. Them fumbling the ball, you would think would put them into a doghouse. But when I think about Josh McDaniels, I think about someone who I just can't trust to have a natural reaction to anything or make any kind of decision that makes sense for us as fantasy managers. Henderson should be the one that is the lead back there. That's clear. But Ramondre Stevenson is a back that they do like. That's somebody that they see as a 3-down capable back. It's not a split that would necessarily tilt towards Henderson early down, Travion Henderson, Stevenson early down, Travion Henderson receiving work there. It's just kind of a hodgepodge. So until I see it, I'm still remaining reserved there from Henderson. We theoretically should see the flip, but it's tough to trust it. So you can move them up a little bit. Now, perhaps they will be a little bit generous and tell us that, hey, we're getting more snaps to Henderson. That would be wonderful if they tilted us in that way.
You'd think the frustration would do it with Stevenson, right?
You would think. But I just don't trust Josh McDaniels here. Now, Stephon Diggs. This is what I kind of expect from him, unfortunately. It's been a snap issue. I don't know if it's a ramp-up issue or if he's just not someone that they want to give that bulk of the workload to, because Kayshon Boutte has consistently been the guy that is out there with the majority of snaps, running a ton of routes there. So theoretically, if you're trying to look into someone, it should be him. But I think we're waiting on Stephon Diggs to emerge here. And I kind of wonder if they're just keeping him a little bit reserved in trying to do a ramp up, or if ultimately this is just not the guy that's the wide receiver one for him. There is no way, shape, or form you can trust him, or really any of these Patriots pass catchers, because despite Drake May doing excellent, the ball is being spread around so perfectly evenly. You just can't trust anyone. Even Hunter Henry on a week-to-week basis, we'll have him up there for sure in terms of rankings, but just be aware you could get that ugly little 0 where Hooper comes around and vultures.
Yeah. This no clear stars in the receiving game has made it kind of ugly. Let me just ask you one more on this game. Caleb Johnson inactive. How deep does the league have to be for you to hold on to Caleb Johnson at all?
It's dynasty, and that's about it. I had somebody ask me 14 team, what are we doing? I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I feel like when you get into Mike Tomlin's doghouse, that's somebody who I feel like I can predict. I can predict and trust what he is.
You
going
lose
to
his
do.
Football, you sit
That's
you're
it.
behind on the bench. Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. So yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, yeah, sure, maybe it turns into a Chase Brown situation, but Gainwell and Warren have looked good. So I think it'd take an injury at this point with the huge mistake last week for Caleb Johnson. Let's go to the Colts, 41 at the Tennessee Titans, 20. And this one, Daniel Jones, 228 yards and a touchdown. He ran for 27 yards as well. Cam Ward, 219, a touchdown and a pick, ran for 12. JT got in the end zone 3 times, 17 for 102 in 3 scores. He also had 3 catches for 16 yards. Pollard did have a score, kind of bailed out his day because only 45 yards on the ground, 14 through the air. Pittman scored 6 targets, 6 catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown. A.M. Manor, 38 and a touchdown. Ridley, 7 targets, but only 1 catch for 27 yards. Tyler Warren, 3 for 38. Okonkwo had a ton of targets as well here. So let's start with, are we buying the Colts offense, or is this Daniel Jones, like, he does this, he teases us every once in a while where he gives us a couple good games and then he turns into a pumpkin? Is that Daniel Jones now, or is this, hey, look, we're in a new system, we're surrounded by talent, we have a better coach? Is that the Daniel Jones? Which one do you see, Tara?
It's the latter for me. I'm buying into it. It's amazing what you can do when you put somebody behind a good offensive line and you have a wide variety of weapons to work for them. It's and I think it's also a testament to Shane Steichen. Maybe it was just the quarterback situation that was holding him back. We remember the brilliance that he had there in Philadelphia, and now we're seeing him be able to actually have confidence in his quarterback and be able to implement the system that he wants. So I'm buying into it. I love the stability that he's bringing to the offense. He's active on the ground, but not completely vulturing Jonathan Taylor. We got a clear wide receiver 1 and Michael Pittman. Tyler Warren's getting some action. This is a very likable offense here.
Ridley's getting frustrating with Cam Ward. I.M. Minor has worked out fine. He's probably going to be near the top of waivers again this week. He's having a great season so far. Kind of another touchdown here, but Ridley, 7 targets, 1 catch. It was nice for 27 yards, but are you buying low on Ridley right now, or is this a guy where you're like, look, after a good week next week or in the next couple, I'm going to try to get out?
I'm not buying low. I can buy low on a Drake London. I can't buy low on a Calvin Ridley, because the problem here is that this target share for Aya Manor, that's real. He's a rookie coming in and commanding that right off the bat. We were believing in Ridley coming into the season and understanding that we were going to have to give it some time for Ward to get comfortable and to get through those initial bad matchups there. But we were looking at him under the impression that he was going to be the clear wide receiver one with no competition. That is not the case here. So how long can we wait for Cam Ward to really amp up that volume? We get a 300-yard game, and then we can finally see Ridley. But at what point do we get to that? I can't do it, unfortunately. I'm not buying Calvin Ridley. It is what it is. It's just too messy of a receiving core right now.
It ain't working. If it ain't working, it ain't working.
Yeah.
Let's go to an unfortunate one for you, Tara. Your Packers, 10 at the Cleveland Browns, 13. This was snatching defeat out of the jaws of victory here. This was very strange. Flacco, 21-36, 142 yards and a pick. Jordan Love, 183 yards, a touchdown, and a really ill-timed pick. We did see Judkins have 18 rushes for 94 yards and a score here, and he really was the guy. 36 snaps for him, only 24 for Ford, and only 5 for Sampson. Jacobs had, a normal day, just didn't get in the end zone. The Cleveland wide receiver situation is getting ugly with Judy and Tillman. Golden had some touches but didn't get enough yards, and Njoku was fine. Fannin was pretty good here, 5 for 40, 3 for 25, and then Kraft was less than 100%. But in this game, I think the big thing we got to talk about is Judkins, Tara.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing there is he looked good. That Packers defense was clamping down and looked like the run defense had improved, and Judkins came out there, and it wasn't just picking away at this defense. He had break off big runs there. He looked fantastic. We, hope that he would get a little bit more receiving work there. Maybe he is able to phase Jerome Ford out at some point, but that's a trustworthy RB2 volume that we got there. We got the touchdown. How many weeks that would come from Cleveland, you don't know, but overall, feel positive about it. Feel really good about it.
Yeah, I mean, if he did this against Green Bay,
yeah,
that's really good. I think I'm really excited to see what Judkins can do. Is Jerry Jeudy or Golden more frustrating right here? And anything actionable with these guys right now?
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy is more frustrating. It's a clear 1A, 1B, and when there's really no delineation in an offense where the passing game is struggling immensely, and realistically, we don't have something that we can in theory turn to and say, hey, man, it'll get 10 times better if Dylan Gabriel comes. We don't really feel that way confidently. So no, it's frustrating, and it feels like that's a lot of what we're going to continue to see. On the other end with Matthew Golden, I actually walk away a little bit more positively towards that. It was weird because all of that, all those very minuscule targets, they came at the beginning of the game, like they were actively trying to get him involved because he had been on the field. This was not a situation of a rookie having to earn his spot. He'd been there. It'd just been limited target share and a little bit of bad luck in terms of bad balls from Jordan Love. So to see him targeted early, very intentionally here, it looked like Matt LaFleur made the decision, like, we're just going to move forward and trying to push him forward. Now, maybe that concept got abandoned as they realized that this was going to be a dogfight that they were going to have to try and push through, but I'm encouraged by the early usage.
Yeah, 3 rushes too. Like, I just get him involved. Yeah. So I'm excited for him as well. I'm a big Texas fan, so let's get our guy going here. Let's go to the one that made me sweat the most this week because I had Tampa Bay in my survivor pool at home against the Jets with a backup quarterback. Should have been a no sweat here, but they have to win at the end, 29-27 at home. Bucks over the Jets. We had the Mike Evans injury. And Mecca's obviously going to go through the roof here. But Baker, 233 and a touchdown, 4 for 44. Tyrod Taylor was miserable for 3 quarters, but really turned it on in the fourth. 197 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Did run for 48. We saw Bucky have 25 carries in this game for 66 yards and also 4 catches, so just a shade under 30 touches for Bucky in this one. Rashad White added 6. Breece Hall was in here. And Davis was kind of cut out this time. It was Breece Hall, 9 for 21. He also had 4 catches for 31, so 52 total yards. Braylon Allen, they're just not throwing the ball to, 6 for 30. And Isaiah Davis was down to 9 snaps, so it was 38 for Hall Egbuka with a decent game, 8 for 6, 8 targets, 6 catches, 65 yards. That beautiful one-hander as well. Huge game for Garrett Wilson, 13 targets, 10 catches, 84 yards and a score. But in this game, Tara, I mean, the big thing to pull away here is Mike Evans' injury. Emeka Egbuka, being Emeka Egbuka, he looks amazing to start the year. And then the Jets offense looks like it's down to 3 players when Justin Fields plays.
Yeah, it is. I wish we got a little bit more clarity in terms of that backfield. I still don't feel like Brees is the lead back, but you still don't feel very positively in terms of moving him up in the rankings. I will say, because I got a lot of start-sit questions on a wide variety of Fantasy Pros start-sit shows this mornings, and we cannot put Garrett Wilson into questions anymore. No more questions about Garrett Wilson. He is a must-start at all times. You put him up there next to Puka Nacua, and you call it a day.
Yeah, 13 targets. I mean, there's nobody else on this team to catch the football. So it's him and Brees, and that's it. So, yeah, I'm absolutely with you in that thought process that, look, it's the 3 guys for the Jets. Maybe Mason Taylor gets going at some point. I'd love to see it. Maybe there's, maybe Braylon Allen gets more and we cut Isaiah Davis out and Braylon Allen is more viable. But until that happens, it's the 3 guys. So I'm absolutely with you on that. Before we move on here, let me tell you guys, it seems like Elikai Minor might be a great ad. Don't miss out on snagging potential difference makers. If you like him, use Waiver Wire Central at fantasypros.com/myplaybook or on the Fantasy Pros app to instantly view suggestions on who you should add or drop. And I think the waiver wire is going to be hopping this week with all of these injuries, Tara. It's going to be a big fab week. Unfortunately, I had to blow most of my fab on Jake Browning to have a quarterback because I had Burrow and Fields in one league. So I went with Browning and Tyrod, and I am going to lose. What a shock. Let's talk about the Raiders and the Commanders. Commanders 41, Raiders 24. We got our first look at the backfield for Washington without Austin Eckler. It was Bill. He scored the touchdown, but he only had 9 touches for 31 yards. McNichols had 1 big run, and he scored a touchdown. But C-Rod had the most carries at 11. The snaps, also not great, Tara. It's 23 for Bill. It's 22 for C-Rod and 15 for McNichols. Now, in this game, we also had Mariota run for a touchdown, which was nice. He threw for 270 yards. Geno threw 3 touchdowns, all to Trey Tucker. But, of course, we had the McLaurin injury. Debo got a little more involved in the run game. He had 2 catches for 11 yards and 3 rushes. McCaffrey had the big score at the end. Lane had the punt return. But this was, I guess, the things to pull away here. There's a lot from this game. First of all, let's just start with the running backs for Washington. What is your thought process here? Is it going to be ugly for a big chunk of the season, or is this just, hey, this is Bill working his way up and that's the guy you want?
It's a committee. It was a committee last year with Eckler and Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson, we think of him as the lead back. Last year for Washington, he didn't have a significant amount of carries, like comparatively around the league to other lead backs. It's a committee, and I don't know if they are going to change it at this point. And it wasn't a particularly good showing for Krosky Merritt. The goal line touchdown was good because that at least is an indication that, hey, maybe we can at least say these goal line touches will go to him. But how many times can you count on Terry McLaurin going down at the 1? Especially when you have Jaden Daniels come back here.
Right.
I struggle to trust any of these guys. I do not think that Bill will be the highest ranked for sure, but not to the level of where he's reaching in RB2. It'll be in that kind of muddy area.
We can use this game as an example. There were 3 rushing touchdowns from 3 different players for Washington here. So not a surprise. Okay. I know people are worried about Genty. He did have 17 for 63. They didn't throw the ball to him at all. I know people are worried about Bowers as well with the snaps being lowered. I'm in the camp of I don't care about Bowers snaps being lowered. He's too good. This was a weird game, of course. You're playing from behind for a big chunk of it, and Tucker got the big game here. But I'm not too worried about Bowers. I'm indifferent on Genty. I think this is more the O-line, which is not something, you can really make an adjustment for. I just hope that the blocking gets better because I believe, it's like But the yards before contact, Genty starts in the negative right here. He's always getting hit behind the line. So I guess what are your thoughts on a couple of these Raiders pieces that have been disappointing us so far?
Yeah, Genty's he's behind a bad offensive line, but he's a lead back. This is no question. No one has taken his job. There's not going to be any level of committee. So you can take that away positively. The bad news is that we draft somebody like that because we say 3 down back on the ground and receiving work, and the receiving work is not coming through. That can make up for a bad offensive line. That was Chase Brown last year. The volume can help out there, but we're not getting that. So that does make it difficult for us. At the end of the day, you've still got an RB1 there. So we're holding faith there and we're staying positive. I'm with you on Bowers. This is not a panic for me. It's kind of like hey, maybe the knee is still a little bit of an issue there. The receiving core is something that is very interesting to me. Trey Tucker popping up in there for 2 weeks in a row now. And really 3 weeks he's looked
he's
solid.
On the field always. Yeah. He's like
he's
a 90% snap guy. So
yeah,
I love that call out. That's a really good, and through 3 touchdowns today, he's definitely going to be on everybody's radar on the waiver wire, especially with all these stupid wide receivers getting hurt. Come on, stay healthy, guys. Let's go to the Bengals 10 at the Vikings 48. Woo, this was the battle of the backup quarterbacks here, Tara. Obviously, Carson Wentz, 14 to 20, 173 yards and 2 touchdowns, but it was a disgusting day from Jake Browning. 19 of 27, 140 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks. Mason, huge game for him with Aaron Jones going to the IR, 16 for 116 and 2 scores. Even Xavier Scott, 8 for 30 and a catch for 20. Cam Akers, who just came over this week, even had 5 carries. Chase Brown, complete disappearing act, 10 rushes for 3 yards, 4 catches for 17. P. Ryan left with a thumb injury. Taj Brooks had carries in here. We saw a decent game from Jefferson. Chase had a fumble on 6 targets and 5 catches. Higgins only had 1 catch. Hawkinson had a nice day coming back off an injury, 49 yards and a touchdown, but we had Fant get hurt and lose a fumble. This seems like one of those games where, look, it's Jake Browning's first start. It's on the road against the blitz heaviest team in the NFL, Minnesota. Is this a game for the Bengals offense? There's a lot of complaints about Chase Brown, as there should be, but is this a game where you just take this information and chuck it right in the trash because the Bengals are never going to play this bad again the rest of the year?
I think you take the information and you take the information with last week and you say, when you're in a good matchup, we don't need to forget the fact that Jake Browning was able to supply Jamar Chase with a fantastic, and really T. Higgins too, with a fantastic week last week in a good matchup. Once you get to those defenses that can throw fits, confuse you, and make it a major issue here, Minnesota's defense is absolutely that. You are going to have to pump the brakes a little bit. I will say, my concern for Chase Brown only grows, though. I can forgive the wide receivers as they head into better matchups down the road. But the problem with Chase Brown here, and I hate this because I love Chase Brown with all my heart, this is such a bad offensive line, and he cannot run through this. It's not physically possible. I don't know what to do here with him. We need the pass.
You got to turn him into H-Chan.
Yeah,
you gotta throw the ball to him short, get him in space, and let him work that way. So we'll see if that works. But you're right. Okay. Are you more worried about Chase Brown now or Ashton Genty?
Chase Brown. Yeah, because at least I can fathom that the Raiders offense can pull itself together. I don't know if this Cincinnati offense is going to be able to pull itself together in a more consistent way that'll produce the opportunities on the ground, the goal line touches. We are exclusively dependent on Jake Browning, who was not a massive check down person, to, hey, you gotta throw check down and look at Chase Brown, because that's the only production that he is going to have.
And the Vikings this week too, with Carson Wentz, who's been there for like a little over a month. They're going to Ireland for that 8:30 or 9:30 a.m. Eastern time kickoff. 8:30 for me. It's just brutal.
Fun.
I'm a night person and a Steelers fan. Don't like these games. Let's go to the Texans 10, losing to the Jaguars 17 here. Trevor Lawrence, another just not great game. 20 of 40, 222 yards and a pick. was a good defense in Houston here, but rough game for him. Stroud, 204 yards, touchdown, and 2 picks, 22 yards rushing. Etienne got a touchdown, but 16 for 56, didn't catch a pass. Tootin, 6 for 21, Vulture to touchdown. LaQuint Allen actually had more snaps than Tootin here, which was a little bit surprising. Chubb, 38 rushing yards, 2 receiving yards, not much at all for him. Marks was involved, 7 touches for him, and I believe it was 12 for Chubb, so he's eating it a little bit. Bad day for Brian Thomas Jr., only 2 catches for 55. Parker Washington had 11 targets. Obviously, Diami Brown went down in this game, but Travis Hunter only 1 catch for 21 yards. Nico had a nice day, 104 yards and a score. Christian Kirk's debut with the Texans, he had 8 targets, but only caught 3 for 25 yards, but he was on the field a lot. So, and Strange had a big day, 7 targets, 6 catches, 61 yards. So when you look at this weird defensive matchup, which a lot of these low-scoring games, it felt like a hangover Sunday.
Yes.
Like all these teams were hungover to start the game here. But when you look at this, I mean, I think the biggest thing that people want to hear about is Brian Thomas Jr. Are you frustrated? Is this another guy that we're worried about legitimately? Or is this like a, hey, look, he's BTJ. Once they figure this out with this new offensive system, they'll get him going?
I'm concerned at this point. I feel like we should have seen better performance from Trevor Lawrence. And while I was saying I was holding out hope for Brian Thomas Jr. because the targets had been there, that was not a concern. He just was unfortunately not connecting with Trevor. He had a lot of drops, and so we were saying, okay, if we can fix those problems, not an issue. The targets are there. That's what we're concerned about. The usage here, the reduction in targets this week, that is a problem. And I'm not sure that it will stick that way because at the end of the day, that is the most talented wide receiver on your team. But until he can figure out how to be productive within that offense and actually catch the majority of his passes, we're concerned there. Seeing that shift in 11 targets to Parker Washington, it's random and it's weird. And then on top of that, you talked about the run game, which wasn't highly productive, but overall it's competent. So they don't have to be aggressive through the air. They've got depth there. They've got 3 backs that they trust. So they can sit there and say, we're going to really lean on these running backs that we have, and we don't have to push aggressive pass volume.
Yeah, excellent point there. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And Trevor Lawrence just kind of looks like a bust at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we got to give him this year, right? He didn't have a fair shake. He had the clown show of Urban Meyer to start, and I think Peterson was kind of a weird hire. So I think he hasn't had a real fair shake, so I don't want to dump him after 3 weeks of, having a decent coach in Liam Cohen here, but geez, this does not look good. Which, are you more concerned about Lawrence or Stroud?
I'm more concerned about Stroud because if Lawrence can figure it out, okay, the pieces are all there. Stroud's offensive line is not going to change. That is the major problem there. It was good to see that they were able to figure out how to hyper target Nico, because my concern with the line being so bad was that they just didn't have the time to actually get it to Nico in advantageous situations. But we did see them be able to do that and work around. But Stroud is in a rough spot here, unfortunately, and I don't know that it turns around for him because I don't see where this offensive line can turn things around dramatically.
I think Jaden Higgins is a dump with Christian Kirk coming back, right? Like that's pretty obvious. Okay, Woody Marks. Let's talk about Woody Marks. Is he a sneaky add and stash and hope that he takes over for Chubb, or at least works his way in there, kind of like Trey Benson, and then now look what's going on with the Cardinals, right? So is he going to be one of your higher priority waiver guys this week?
He is. I was telling people last week, you got to stash him, because that game that we saw last week, where that first one where they had Dameon Pierce as the healthy inactive, that was the indication there. We've got a direct handcuff situation. There is no confusion here. Dare Ogunbowale is just a guy that is there. Woody Marks has earned this spot as the direct handcuff, and apparently he has earned the ability to work in as well as a nice change of pace back there, and he showcased fairly well opposite of Chubb here. So he could eat in a little bit. I don't see Chubb disappearing completely as long as he is on the field, but Marks is definitely a priority add here, just because we've got a very defined handcuff that could potentially offer standalone value as we proceed over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. The Texans are going to be interesting. Hopefully they get that O-line fixed and we get back to normal Stroud, but we will see. Let's go to the Rams 26 at the Eagles 33. This one had a lot of Survivor people maybe sweating as well, but I mean, crazy game here. AJ Brown looks good, but Hurts 21 of 32, 226 and 3 touchdowns. He also ran for one. Stafford 196, 2 and 1. Saquon didn't get in the end zone and only 55 yards. So that's a little annoying. Kyron 20 for 94, but caught a touchdown. We like that. Quorum 8 for 53. Dude, it's just a good back. AJ Brown 10 for 6 for 109 in his score. Devontae with a score as well. Puka, 15 targets, as you mentioned before, 11 catches for 112. Devontae had a score on 3 catches for 56 on 8 targets. Goddard got in the end zone on his 1 catch as well. So pretty good back and forth offensive game here between these two with 2 strong defenses. I think we got the big thing that we wanted out of this game, which is just a good game from A.J. Brown if you're rostering him. Everything else is pretty standard here. I mean, Saquon... didn't get in the end zone, but he still had his 22 touches, just played a good defense here. So I don't have a lot to pull away from this one outside of A.J. Brown looking good.
It was good. We learned that you can, in fact, bully Philadelphia into throwing the ball. You got to remember, Jalen Hurts can throw. I know that's funny and the people like to make jokes about it, but we've seen it. He can throw. They simply choose not to. But if you do, in fact, stop Saquon on the ground, you can force them into changing, and voila, it's almost as if A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are like elite or something. It worked out perfectly here. So, so all claps around for this whole team.
Yeah, that one, the worrying about AJ Brown, it's like, okay, well, you didn't get anything week 1. Well, yeah, he was like probably less than even 50%. I think he was a decoy in that game. Yeah, probably wasn't fully healthy in week 2 either. You're right. So, and they won both those games. So who cares? He doesn't care. I mean, he probably does. He's a little bit of a crybaby, but he's still amazing. So
read his book on the sideline.
Yeah, hey, look, I got AJ Brown everywhere. I don't care. Read all the books you want, man. Just score points for my team. Before we go to the late slate, let me tell you guys about the Fantasy Pros Discord. And it is just too easy to join our Fantasy Pros Discord community. You can chat with other friends and get access to exclusive AMAs that wind up on our podcast feed. Here is the schedule right now. It's Worm and Fitz at 5 Eastern on the first Tuesday of every month. Myself and Fitz at 5 Eastern on the third Tuesday of every month. Welsh and Erickson Thursdays at 2 Eastern. Come and get your questions answered and be on the show at fantasybros.com/chat. All right, Tara, let's go to the late slate. Denver Broncos 20 at the Chargers 23. Najee injury was the big thing in here, but we saw Hampton have 19 carries for 70 and a score, and also 7 targets, 6 catches for 59. Looks like he is going to be a full-time elite back there. Still Dobbins way over RJ Harvey. Yes. 11 for 83 and a score for Dobbins, 2 carries for 2 yards and 3 catches for 14 for Harvey. Sutton back on the board with a big game, 6 for 118 and a score. We saw Quentin Johnson do it again, 10 targets, 6 catches for 89. Keenan 11 for 765 and 1. And Lad McConkey down to 7 for 4 and 41 here. So your classic AFC West battle between the Broncos and the Chargers. But now that Quentin Johnson can catch and they signed Keenan Allen, Lad's getting left a little bit behind. So wherever you want to start on this one was a weird game.
It was. Quentin Johnson has turned into Calvin Johnson. No, it's fantastic. The problem for Lad McConkey is that he's still the same lad, but unfortunately, everybody else is just 10 times better than last year. We got the addition of Keenan Allen, this clear development in Quentin Johnson year over year here, and we have to feel good about it. The targets are going to be spread around, and this was crazy because I really thought that this was a game where we were going to have to tilt away from Quentin Johnston because of the perceived and tougher coverage there of Patrick Surtain on him, but he still pulled through there. So this was wildly impressive there. We also got, I do want to mention this. We got our first appearance of Oronde Gadsden. So yay on that one. So maybe we can finally have a semi-usable tight end here. All positive stuff, except for Lad McConkey, unfortunately getting a decreased target share there. For Denver, We got J.K. Dobbins as a lead back. We may not like it, but we have to accept that he is the lead back, and that I don't believe that is changing. We can look at the positive of that. Tyler Bidet was at least reduced, so maybe we can get a little bit more in terms of pass volume to RJ Harvey, but unfortunately, he's just not reliable at this point.
So I'm more positive on RJ Harvey than I am like obviously Caleb Johnson. So I want to still hold RJ Harvey, but I'll say every week he doesn't do anything like this week, it becomes more and more frustrating and more likely I drop him. But the deeper we get in the season, the more likely he is to gain touches. So it's a frustrating combination right now, just not getting what we wanted from RJ Harvey. Let's talk about Seattle 44 versus New Orleans 13. And this was just a stomping from the start. 14 of 18 for Darnold, 218 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ken Walker scored his 2 touchdowns and disappeared in the second half because why would we even run him? He's so injury prone. JSN had an illness, but stepped up and had 6 targets, 5 catches, 96 yards and a score. Torrey Horton returned a kick and scored a touchdown through the air, 3 for 32 and a score. On the Saints side, I mean, we got another 39 passes from Spencer Rattler. This is, unlike the Bengals, this is probably what it's going to look like most weeks for the Saints.
Yes.
So it's going to be a lot of garbage time every week. We had 14 targets for Olave. He had 10 catches for 57 yards, so nice for PPR. Jawan Johnson, another 8-target game, 6 catches for 51. Shaheed, 4 for 42. Kamara, 18 for 42, but only 1 catch for 14 yards. This was a stomping. This was, I believe, the Saints' first road game. What are your thoughts here on this Seahawks and Saints matchup, Tara?
It was the weirdest shellacking that I've ever seen. It's not as if Darnold threw for 300 and we had a 100-yard game from Walker. It was just high level efficiency and just stomping the poor Saints into the ground here. But I'm with you. The volume is going to be there. We know Kellen Moore. They're going to continue to chuck that ball and they're going to have to. So at least you can look at those Saints pass catchers. For the most part, that Kamara thing was unappealing. But for the most part, as guys that are going to be consistently getting targets, how much will come of them? The touchdown opportunities, that's another story. But at least volume will continue to be there.
Let's go to the Niners and the Cards. 16-15 on a last-second field goal. The Niners end up winning this game. Mac Jones, 27 of 41, 284 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. We had McCaffrey, 17 for 52 on the ground, 15 targets, so he tied with Puka for the most, 10 catches for 88 yards. Brian Robinson, 2 for 22, did not catch a ball. Pearsall, 11 targets, 8 catches for 117. Kendrick Bourne stepped up with Jennings down, 6 targets, 4 catches, 38 yards. And then on the Cardinals side, only 159 yards and a touchdown for Kyler. Trey Benson, 10 for 42 and 3 catches for 9 yards. Obviously, we had the James Conner injury. He only had 9 for 22. Marvin Harrison had 6 targets, 3 catches for 44 yards. Just ugly business. Trey McBride, 8-5, 43 and 1. Tara, I'm really frustrated with Harrison, and I think I'm all the way out now. Like, even in this game, 6 targets is nice. He had 3 for 44, but one of those catches was for 32 yards, and it was kind of a over-the-top, accidental, weird, broken coverage thing. So Kyler and Marvin just aren't working out. Obviously, James Conner's hurt, so there's a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, I feel bad for Kyler because every time I looked up, it was just somebody dropping a pass for him. He had a fine game. Marvin Harrison Jr., I tried to make excuses, but you're right. When you're sitting there jumping up, you're wide open, a ball in the air, and you're just dropping it right between your hands, you start to look and question, like, what is going on with you? That's not wide receiver 1 quality. Good news is that, again, like, it's Trey McBride and him from a pass catching perspective. So you would think at some point it's got to click for him, but this is just incredibly discouraging and what should have been a better performance from him.
Yeah. I mean, is Christian McCaffrey going to stay healthy the whole year taking this many touches?
It's tough to believe. It feels aggressive. You would think they would try to reduce it. It's kind of crazy. It is, especially when he doesn't look particularly efficient with it. You would think that you would be wanting to, but hey, that's their process there. They have been consistent with that, and the fact that in the past they're not limiting workload on him. They are pushing forward as if the wheels come off, they come off, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. That's just what it's always been, and that's what I feared with CMC coming into this year. So, Niners over the Cardinals, barely. The last game that we have to talk about, speaking of barely, the Bears win 31-14 over the Cowboys here. Big game for Caleb Williams. 19 of 28, 298 yards, and 4 touchdowns for him. Luther Burden led the way with 101 receiving yards and a touchdown on 3 targets. Roma Dunze had a touchdown as well. 7 targets, 3 catches, 62 and a score. DJ Moore did have a touchdown. 5 targets, 4 catches, 21 yards and a score. Also had 3 rushes for 7 yards. Monongai got in here 6 for 16, but Swift led the way again, 13 for 33 and 3 catches for 45. On the Cowboy side, obviously Lamb going down hurt this whole thing. 31 of 40 for Dak. So, I mean, Dak made it rain, but he also threw 2 picks, 251 yards, touchdown, and 2 picks. Ferguson, 14 targets, 12 catches, 82 yards. Pickens, 9 for 5 for 68 and a score. Javonte, 10 for 76 and 5 catches for 16. So, I mean, look, the positives, obviously, I don't want to focus all on the negative in CeeDee Lamb, but Deepak told us likely 2 weeks. So we can live with that. That's fine. We can all take a big, deep breath. But Caleb looked great. That's what I want to pull away from this. Obviously, the Cowboys secondary is less than spectacular right now, but everybody looked good here for the Bears on offense. And let's see more of this. Let's see what this is, the Caleb we've been wanting.
Yeah, I feel like Ben Johnson was really in his bag. We saw intentional designed plays for Luther Burden, so that's good. They're trying to make an effort to really get him involved in a very, again, intentional way. Roma Dunze, still the wide receiver 1 there, still the guy that I trust the most. DJ Moore, again, it's a safe floor. It's a safe floor. Unfortunately, the upside is just going to be limited there. That's very clear at this point. But overall, you do got to feel good about it. And I will say this about the run game here. This is 2 weeks in a row now that Roshan has been healthy and he has not been touching the ball. So we've got a clear handcuff running back situation there with Kyle Monangai for DeAndre Swift.
Yeah. And this was a team that I was like, maybe they trade for Breece Hall at some point. I would love to see that if the Jets keep losing games. See, free Breece, get him in Chicago with all those weapons. That would be awesome. That's all the games that we have to talk about. Before we take off here, let me remind you guys about our Twitch live stream schedule. Out of Bounds with Joe, the Welsh, and myself returns Mondays, 2 Eastern. The Welsh and myself, 2 hours. Our first hour, we answer your questions on Twitch on Tuesdays at 12 Eastern, and then we play a game of Madden. I smoked Welsh in the last one, so
there we
you
go.
guys should come and hang out and watch that. Seth and Debro will be with you on Thursdays at 1 Eastern and Fridays at 2 Eastern. We've also got a fantasy football Q&A for you every Sunday at noon Eastern. And last, we recap the Sunday game right here at 7:30 Eastern every single week. Give us a follow, ask questions, and live right here on Twitch. We thank you for hanging out with us tonight. If you want to support the channel, watch us ad-free and get boosted odds at winning our giveaways, please hit the subscribe button. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to our channel on Twitch, absolutely free, FREE, with Prime Gaming. It's the easiest way to support us without having to spend anything extra, and every sub helps us bring more content to you for the rest of the year. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us on Twitch. It's at Tera Time, right? It's Tera Time.
Yep.
Follow Tera on Twitter. Follow me at Bogman Sports, and we will see you guys next week. Take it easy, everybody. Stupid Caleb Johnson. Quit fumbling.